Welcome to the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. This is episode 56. I'm your host, Kyle Blondin. And back with us is, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Ajax, it is Huston from Ajax. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
What a cheesy entrance I just gave you. That was terrible. That was like you just came onto a game show.
I liked it. It was top tier.
Okay.
I'm very deserving of a entrance like
I'm not saying you're not. I just think I was aiming for a little Bruce Buffer when it comes to UFC, since we watched that last night. That intro did not live up to my expectations, so I apologize ahead of time. I'll do a better job next time we introduce you.
I'll give you a B+. It's okay. It was
B+,
good.
I'm looking for A's, okay? All right, everybody, we're the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. It has been a long time since we left off early June, episode 55, and finally got to 56. And you know what? Based on the time of year we're at, the end of June, we're going to call this more of a quarterly, second quarter review. Ooh, and we're watching the Blue Jay game here. Ooh, there's feedback. We're watching the Blue Jay game here. And interesting to note that the inning prior, Garrett Cole hit Vladdy Guerrero on the knuckles or the fingers, which was a serious look at Vladdy potentially leaving the game. And now we're just witnessing Aaron Judge got hit by Kevin Gossman. Is that coincidental, you think, or are we seeing a little tit for tat here on throwing at each other's stars?
Honestly, it very well could be.
Is your mic on, by the way?
Yes, my mic is on. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I think it was an accident.
You think it was an accident?
Yeah, because I think, Vladdy and Garrett Cole, they kind of had like a nice little friendly exchange. Like, oh, yeah, it wasn't on purpose. So I think it'd be a little petty. Plus, I think if the umpires thought that as well, there's a chance Gossman could have at least got a warning there, right? So
right.
The umpires didn't think so. I don't think so.
All right, so we'll see how this trends. Alec Verdugo is on point right now. We'll see what happens here. I think something's going to happen. We're going to get those morons out of the bullpen, hopping the fence, running in for no reason. The pitching coach, all that stuff, all the charade that is a bench clearing brawl. But I don't know. We'll see. All right, so we also left off here before the second biggest football/soccer tournament kicked off, and that is the Euros, Euro 24. We've been witnessing group play, and we're getting down to now the knockout stage. So this is day 2 of the knockout stage. And I'll tell you this right now, is that England has moved on. England knocked off Slovakia. However, if you watched this game this afternoon and you're an England fan, you should be very, very concerned based on what we saw. You're hoping that amazing Jude Bellingham goal and Harry Kane's goal in extra time has pushed this team to where they need to go going into their next game against Switzerland. But they looked horrible for 94 minutes, 95-ish minutes. And the issue that I seen was Gareth Southgate was going to be done if they didn't pull off that miraculous tie going into extra time. I cannot believe in this tournament that a team like England, when you look and you break down this roster, and you got the Harry Kanes of the world, if you're going to put Harry Kane on your roster, you've got to game plan to get him the ball. Get him the goddamn ball. They're bouncing around the outside, like quick passes. It's like watching paint dry. It's friggin' horrible. So England, you got lucky, and wins count. Who cares how you get there? You have survived, but you looked horrible in the last 4 games doing it.
If I'm not mistaken, that amazing goal that we both saw, was that not their first shot on target the whole game?
That was their... I almost forgot about that. For a guy who took shots on target, which I did, which was over by halftime when there was only 1 shot on target, and that was Slovakia's goal, is Jude Bellingham was the 3rd shot in the game and the 1st shot on target for the English squad. And we're talking about 94, 95 minutes of no shots on target, crosses into the box, failure by the English team to actually be creative, use their stars. Jude Bellingham had to have a scissor kick to tie this game. Not a traditional, we're showing our dominance. I don't know what system they're playing, because the first 95 minutes was absolute shit. Absolute shite. If you want to talk about English football, shite.
Would you say that's the goal of the tournament so far?
So far,
yeah.
I think I'm trying to go back to the games I know I've watched and been able to watch. Yes, that's got to be the goal of the tournament, that scissor kick. It was absolutely outstanding. and you expect that from an up-and-coming player that's obviously on the Real Madrid roster, and Jude Bellingham. So if he wakes up and he goes, they're in a good spot. If they're also looking at Ivan Toney, who came on late, I think they needed to make that move and that switch much earlier because things were not happening. Palmer came on. He was a little spark in there. But Phil Foden, I love him on Man City, but maybe it's time to make him come off the bench, if you bring him off the bench at all, because it just ain't happening. Okay? So, interesting there. We got the 3 o'clock game coming up with Spain and Georgia. I don't expect a much fight there. It's going to be like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. It's not going to end pretty. What do you think of that? Is that tough talk?
That's tough talk for sure.
Awesome. So what we're doing here, again, as I talked about, we don't have a set agenda. We're just going to talk. We got beers on ice. We got our coffee going. We made the mistake of opening the fridge and seeing a zip-empty fridge when we expected to see a couple cold Heinekens on there. But just to let you know, we may have to stop, crack it open, and get going as we get into this podcast. So, Austin, how you been? It's been a long time since we had you on the podcast. What's new in your world?
I've been good. Excited to be back. Not too much is new. Football's right around the corner. That has me excited. Think about starting up my fantasy football leagues in a couple weeks to a month. The only sport I've been really following is baseball, even though I've probably watched, maybe 4 or 5 of those soccer games so far. The tournament's been pretty good. I've enjoyed it. Soccer is definitely not my favorite sport, but I've been having a good time. Other than that, not too much to report.
So let's one piece of advice is that let's treat the microphone in front of you like you've been on a couple dates. You're allowed to get closer. Okay?
Okay.
It's not a first date with the microphone. You're ready to go. So obviously, you are the guy that your pool of friends looks at to kind of run these leagues. You're always up for any fantasy type league to come your way. So let's think about this. I know you're just starting to think about it. So how many leagues do you expect to be running yourself?
So this year, I expect to be running 3 leagues by myself. Probably expect to be in about 6 or 7. But yeah, I always run. I'll run a $20 league more of as beginners, try to get some new blood into water. I got my $50 league that's kind of just the standard bare bone league, and then I'll have like a smaller league that's for like $100. So okay. I've been doing that. I've been doing 3 leagues for this will be the 3rd year now, but I've been running fantasy football leagues for I think 6-7 years now, maybe something like that.
Why do you take it upon yourself to kind of run it? Why do you feel that you're the guy to do it, and do you enjoy it?
Honestly, I think I enjoy it very much. 6-7 years ago, me and a buddy Brett of mine were just sitting there and kind of like almost like just spitballing ideas on like starting a league, and it's kind of crazy to see how much is flowered. I almost want to say it's like a little community we got of like 20 people who are consistently back every year, and it's not just about the gambling aspect or the fantasy football itself, but it's kind of like keeping friends together in a way too. It's very entertaining, and I would say I love fantasy football more than any other league. Anybody can play. My mom's joining this year, our $20 league. My mom is joining. Obviously, she got more into football this year because of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce stuff. Boy. So it's like, she can name like 5-6 players now. So I'm like, listen, Mom, all right, now's your chance. $20, you might not win the league, but you're going to learn a whole lot for that $20, and I think it's worth it for you. So I'm excited for that one for sure.
So what you're saying is that the Taylor Swift effect is even like approaching on fantasy football now? Are you serious?
It is. Yeah, it is. We got a new member because of it, right? So.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I could care less. I'm not saying bad or good that this whole Taylor Swift and they focus on whatever. Who cares? Look at what's happening. You have your mom, who's a non-football fan.
Yeah.
Took interest and actually continue to take interest. You just talked about that.
Yep.
Who am I to argue? It's got to be working then.
Yeah, I think it's bullcrap that people will actually get upset like, oh, you're only watching because Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. It's like, you know what? There's another person that you can sit on the couch with a beer and talk a little bit of football with now. They might not be able to hold the same level of conversation as you, but you can have a little bit of banter back and forth.
How many Taylor Swift songs do you know? Come on, be honestly, honest. Be honest.
I know Bad Blood. I can't.
Oh my God.
Here's the thing: if I
question,
hear,
you should say none.
Yeah. If I heard them, I'd probably be like, oh, I recognize the song. But naming them, I can't.
You're backpedaling now. I think you know them, and I think if you rolled up your sleeve, you'd have a tattoo or some of the songs. And wow, that's just when somebody's disappointed to hear.
Yeah. You guys can't see me, but I'm actually wearing a Taylor Swift shirt right now.
Yeah, I can't imagine what his Taylor Swift underwear looks like too. And it's female, folks. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
Swifties for life.
Swifties for life. Well, the Swiftie effect is in full gear, and it's hitting fantasy football. Now, last question about fantasy football as we get into you kicking that off, and I hope you keep us updated on how things are going. Actually, a couple things. One, if you are out there, somebody's listening who is also going to be that guy or that girl that's going to bring their friends together and put a pool together, what would you recommend? What site would you use? How would you recommend to keep it simple, at least for if you're just doing it for the first time? What steps would you recommend?
So for beginners, the site that I've been using for years now is Yahoo Fantasy. It's really simple. It's not the best site, but it's good for beginners. If you start to get more. If everyone is kind of knows what they're doing, I would recommend moving to an app called Sleeper. There's a app called Sleeper, and it's just it's got like all the bells and whistles. So it's like kind of once you start off at Yahoo and you kind of everyone kind of knows what they're doing more, I think you move to that site that has the bells and whistles. I actually haven't done that myself with any of my leagues, but I've played in a couple leagues with Sleeper, and I hope that I can move at least maybe one of them over this year. I don't know. Are you familiar with Sleeper yourself?
But tell me why. If I have mastered, the Yahoo, and I want more of a challenge, why am I going to Sleeper?
It's more for like entertainment bells and whistles. For example, you can select your player and you can put them on the trade block, so people can look at your team and know who's available for trades. This is more for fun. It's not actually doesn't have any effect, but you can give your all your players or one of your players or however many you want, like little nicknames, and everyone can kind of look at that. There's many more bells and whistles. I can't really think of too many that come to the top of my head. I just know from my experience that it actually is a lot better.
Yeah, fantasy football has taken a absolute change here of it's simple. It's more complicated if you want it to be, or it can be as simple as you want it to be. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I would say that's a very fair statement. Yeah, I would say keep it simple, stupid though. With
would you call me?
If you're starting a league for the first time, keep it simple. And then year to year, I like to slowly add something or take something away. I don't like to, we're going to change like 5 rules this year. I'll ask everyone in the league, hey, what do you think about changing this one thing? There's so much you can do with fantasy football. 6 points per pass touchdown, PPR, non-PPR, half-point PPR. There's so much that you can do. And you know what? Having all your leagues a little bit different does keep it entertaining. Hey, maybe you add an extra, instead of 2 wide receivers you got 3, or instead of 3 you got 2, no matter whatever the default is, make a small change, add an extra flex spot. There's so much you can do with fantasy football, and it's the one fantasy sport where I think changing it a little does not ruin it at all. Where some of the other leagues, I think you can really ruin a league by changing it too much, like fantasy baseball or basketball.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, like, your boy Ben Rice for the Yankees is up there. I know you're a big fan of Ben Rice.
Yeah.
And we talked about Yankees prospect. He's only, 12 games into his career catcher. Mm-hmm. He's up to bat right now. And the name catches your eye.
Yeah.
From, the Uncle Ben Rice comparison. Your kid is born. Your proud day. You have your son in front of you. Your last name is Rice. Let's call him Ben. Let's call him Ben.
His parents definitely hated him since birth.
Let's call him a box of rice.
Yeah.
A box of goddamn rice. Who thought? You know what? We're making fun of it. I bet you there's probably a history of Uncle Ben, like a lineage to why Ben has been used. But give me a break. Ben and Rice, you may need to steer off the path of using that name, regardless of how many generations it's been in your family. I think you need to steer off and not name your kid Ben Rice.
Yeah, it's sickening.
It's sickening. It's like, God,
what's your middle name? White?
Oh my God! You stole my
Hey, I said
joke.
it first on the podcast.
You did. So Ben White Rice. We don't think it's his middle name. We'll get our research staff to figure out what his middle name is. But I bet you it wouldn't be that far off as something the connection to the rice.
We'll have the lady upstairs on it very shortly.
The lady upstairs has to do her research. She's the Googler. The Googler, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. All right, so we're looking at baseball season. I have been kind of stepping away from baseball season while obviously we ended with hockey and basketball, and we started up with the Euros, Copa America's going on strong. Canada is, and we'll circle back to that, has made it through to the knockout stage, which is a big deal for the program. But just initial thoughts on the baseball season. Have you been in it betting wise? Have you anything you can take away so far?
I would say yes and no. There's a couple things here that I've written down for notes for maybe fans here of the podcast to target going forward, to keep an eye on. I would say, I'll have my weeks where I am betting. I'll have my weeks where I'm not betting at all. So, and those weeks where you take off, you can really miss a whole lot, and it can be difficult sometimes. But I love baseball, and I'll give you guys the knowledge that I do actually have today.
Excellent. Okay, so I know that a lot of people are playing focus on the first 5.5 innings or first 5 innings. Is that a play that you normally take, or is that something you haven't explored yet?
No, I don't go for that. Usually, honestly, I would say I'm a straight wins guy or over and unders. I kind of keep it simple with my betting on baseball. Sometimes, this year, sometimes in play, if I see a team is up 3 runs or something like that, I might take the plus 2.5 on the other team. I've done that a couple times this year, but nothing too crazy. I think I mentioned at the beginning of the year too that I like to keep my bet simple, and I haven't really changed it that much.
Would you say you've been profitable so far in this baseball season, or even keel? What have you got?
I would say, honestly, yeah. I would say probably even keel. I've definitely had my good weeks and bad weeks so far.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So let's see how it goes the rest of the year. Any other news or notes in baseball? I mean, I know you're listening to our predictions podcast, and I can't recall what I predicted, but do you have any notes of some of the picks we made, and then compare it to how they're doing?
Yeah, so I actually just, before this podcast, I went and listened just a little bit of our old podcast, and there's a couple things to note. One, my MVP pick was Mike Trout. He's been injured the whole season. He's been decent when he actually has played, but he only has 109 at-bats on the year. I think he's only batting .220, but he had 10 home runs in that short span, so, he obviously didn't do too bad. And then my Cy Young pick was Tarek Skubal, who that actually looks like a really great pick if you took it. I think he's the front runner right now. If he's not the front runner, he's 1 or 2.
Well, let's check.
Yeah, sure. Let's get the lady from upstairs on. Where is she?
Yeah, she really not participating as what we thought she would. But.
And while you look at that, maybe I'll give them the two notes or 2 teams that I think you guys should follow going forward, just because. They've underperformed, and I think the betting lines have really shown that. And I think you guys could take advantage of them going forward. One of them right now is the Miami Marlins. They started the year just god-awful atrocious. The record is 30-53, and I think they're more. I'm not saying they're a good team. I'm not saying they're a playoff team, but I think the Miami Marlins are a 500 team. So the fact that they're 30-53, the lines are reflecting that, and I think they more true are close to that 50-50 team. So I think it wouldn't hurt taking Miami in the future. And another team, which honestly, this is a big surprise that this is the record, but they're 37-46. The Texas Rangers have really been struggling, but I think they're going to turn it around. I still think they finish in a playoff position. So if my prediction is correct, there's going to be a lot of wins coming up for them. They also they just got Scherzer back. DeGrom will be back at some point. I don't know when, but that will make them obviously a powerhouse.
All right, if we take a step back and look at the FanDuel future award-winning lines right now, if you took him, you're right. Tarek Skubal is plus 190. He leads the pack. Do you have any idea who you think he's coming in at plus 240? Who you would put up number 2?
Number 2. Would it be from Baltimore Orioles, Corbin Burns?
That is correct.
Yeah. Corbin Burns is just, that guy is so electric, amazing, and you know what? He's on the right team right now. Baltimore for years now has just been overperforming. I don't even really know how they've been doing it. They got a good young team, and to have one of the best hitters in baseball, Corbin Burns, on that team, it's a game changer for them. So yeah, it makes no surprise that he's number 2 in the voting. That's an easy assumption, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the Baltimore Orioles came off that playoff run. They had an early exit in the playoffs last year, and you thought, man, they had a good season, made a good run.
Yeah.
And maybe it's going to fade away coming into this year, but they go out and get a Corbin Burns, who I think solidifies. Obviously, you got that ace, you got that go-to guy, that that streak killer. If you're on a losing streak, he's the guy you want on the mound. Yep. He's a winner. He's a winner. That's simple as that.
I think that changes their team during the playoffs too. I really do. Like having that just locked down top guy. Like come playoff times, Tarik Skubal's not going to be in there, so he will be the best pitcher in baseball in the playoffs.
So if you're going to lay money down now, would you stick with Skubal or would you see value in Corbin Burns?
I'll stick with Skubal. I don't want to change my prediction at the beginning of the year, because if I was actually able to call the Cy Young, that's a pretty great prediction. So I don't want to lose that now. And not halfway through, but almost halfway through, and he's leading the pack.
Right, and just to close it out here for the American League Cy Young winner, Garrett Crochet is number 3, and it's amazing that. If you have to look at the award on the merits of the statistics of that pitcher, because the White Sox are like horrendous.
Yeah.
And how would you comment? Look what you've seen from him, Garrett.
He's been really good. I actually picked him up in one of my fantasy leagues. He's been pretty lights out, but I think he's got a little bit of regression coming. I think he'll have a worse second half. He's kind of one of those guys that just came out of nowhere, right?
And who do you think in the National League side who should be leading the odds?
That is also an easy one.
Yeah.
It has to be Glasnow, correct?
That is not correct.
Really?
That is wrong.
Absolutely
wrong.
Is Glasnow second or third there at least?
He is third.
He's third. Really?
Yes.
Who the heck?
Zach Wheeler plus 210 is leading it, and then Chris Sale.
Oh, Chris Sale's been amazing.
He's been amazing. And this guy was put on the junk heap by the Boston Red Sox. The Atlanta Braves go into the offseason, make a trade.
Yep.
They commit to Chris Sale, Alex Anthopoulos, former Blue Jays leader here, brought us to some playoff appearances. Genius, because it's easy to spend the money on the guys that are producing versus you believe Chris Sale might be on the decline, and then he comes back with a season like this so far. Mm-hmm. How would you comment on Chris Sale?
Honestly, I've always believed in Chris Sale. Chris Sale is an amazing player. I'm pretty sure he had Tommy John surgery. Is that correct?
You're right, yes.
Yeah, he is an amazing player. Missed a lot of time, but honestly, even though I know I didn't get it right there, does not surprise me. He's a guy I think if he's healthy will always be at the top. That being said,
a tall lefty like that, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, if I'm forced to put my money down, Glasnow being the third guy, in my head, he is the first guy, so that's probably where my money would go.
And to be honest as well, if you look back at Chris Sale, I know the Braves have a pretty good stockpile of starting pitchers. But they play at a launch pad. Their ballpark is very hitter friendly. Mm-hmm. So for him to come back and be effective like the way Chris Sale is, that's amazing for him. So good job, Alex Anthopoulos. And now that I'm mentioning Alex Anthopoulos and we're watching this god-awful Blue Jays team, and since it's hometown and it's our podcast, we do what the hell we want and talk about whatever the hell we want. What are your comments? Okay, let me frame it this way. What was your expectations for the Toronto Blue Jays coming into the season? Mm-hmm. What have you seen out of them? Obviously, it's been garbage. So tell me what you thought they were going to do and explain what they are doing.
I think coming into the season, I thought the Blue Jays were a borderline 50-50 playoff team, probably get into the wild card. That being said, the division is kind of stacked against them. But now I look at the Blue Jays and I see a borderline 500 team. Nothing is going good for them. Last year, they struggled offensively, but they kind of had that lockdown pitching. And, it's not a factor anymore. Our best pitcher in Gausman, he's completely crumbled this year. He's having an off year. And he was just one of those players we couldn't afford to kind of take a step back when we already had so many struggles.
What a pick up the Yankees, right? They bring Soto in from San Diego, but they also picked up Grisham.
Yeah.
Right? And he's fit in well. You throw him in the bottom of the ninth, left-handed hitter, and he's probably been forgotten that he was a part of that trade to bring Juan Soto in, that he was a part of that trade. Mm-hmm. Exactly the depth you want to bring in to fill out that lineup.
Yep.
What do you think of him?
I think he's not bad. I mean, he's a great number 9 hitter. I'll say that.
And fantastic mustache too, by the way.
And the thing is too,
have you seen his mustache? Look at the mustache. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Who doesn't appreciate a good mustache?
And I mentioned you're not putting the camera on his mustache, but it's a fantastic mustache.
You know what? The Yankees too. They're one of those teams that could definitely use the extra depth. They're kind of top heavy. Soto really changed this team.
Well, Grisham just put one out and off the
Off the
wall.
wall.
And
2
I
runs are
don't
gonna score.
have any idea what Springer was doing out there. What the hell was George Springer doing at the wall?
It looked. I have no
Did
idea.
he need to jump?
George Springer's been struggling a lot this year. He's another guy that we couldn't afford to take a step back.
Right.
And a lot of Blue Jays players have taken a step back this year. It's been tough to watch.
Yeah, they're tough to watch. You know what? They're playing themselves into irrelevancy. Like, I mean, you're not carrying this. This is a blah team.
Yeah.
Is it time for Atkins? Like, why did he jump there? He just needed to run it down.
Yeah, let's see.
What are you doing?
Oh, he should have had that.
What are you doing?
He probably should have had that.
And it's his ballpark. He knows, like, that fence. Like, they're awful.
That was bad.
Okay, so we're looking at a 7-1 game. Yippee for me in the over. Fantastic.
Nice,
I'm a genius
congrats.
again. You were bashing me for taking the... that's a key point we should talk about, is that just betting in general, information is absolutely critical. As I was about to take the 7.5, the line locked and it moved up to 8. I did take the alternative total. Again, it became an alternative total at 7.5, which good for me. I won. But we found out that Juan Soto, who is scheduled not to play, it was scratched. It wasn't scratched. He was back in the lineup, and that probably affected the actual line.
Yeah, to me, even like if you would have told me you're taking 7.5, but Juan Soto's in the game, that's very different than if he's not. You know, like even me personally, if Juan Soto's in the game, I'm setting that over and under to an 8. You know, he's good for half a run, so. I wouldn't have been crapping on your pick if I knew he was in the game.
Man, you crapped on it. You squatted over it and crapped on it.
Oh, God. Yeah. I actually have an under 12.5 in this game, so we'll see how this plays out.
Well, it's the 5th inning, and the Yankees have a runner on second with 1 out, and it's 7-1, so I wish you the best. I'm going to crap all over your pick here because that's terrible. Anyway, we're going to move on. So baseball action, great things are going on. Did you get a chance already? I forgot this. You went to a Jays game already and check out the renovations, right?
Yeah, the renovations, they're pretty good. I didn't really go to where they were too much, but it's nice to see them putting money into the ballpark. Nothing too much to report from my end, honestly. Like, it's almost like I seen the renovations from a distance, and it's like, oh, that looks nice, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty much every sport right now is trying to copy the NBA courtside experience, where you basically have the haves, the people, the corporate with the money, that they actually jack up the prices, and they have a certain audience that are there going to pay big dollars.
It's quality over quantity, right? They get rid of some of the seats, make renovations.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's I don't know if you had a chance to. Did you ever do the? Because I went on a Tuesday. I didn't get a chance. I don't eat hot dogs really, but there was like 50,000 hot dogs sold for like Looney Dog Day or whatever,
I
or
have
Toonie
not,
Dogs, whatever it is.
I've had friends that have gone to Looney Dog Day, and they say that it's a great time, but I have not been myself.
So you're saying that promotion's a wiener?
I would say so.
Okay, awesome. So can I flip to the soccer game as we're looking at this for a bit?
Sure.
It is my TV, so I'm just saying that we're going to do that. All right, so Georgia, and oh my God, Georgia's up 1-0. 25th minute in, they're up.
Nice.
That is absolutely shocking because Spain is usually laying it on. They're not holding back like we saw from England, and now they're playing catch up. Outstanding. And look at that dive. Like, I just got shot in the back of my hamstring. Unbelievable. Anyway, so as we move on, I want to let you know about a book I know I've started to read. And what I'm trying to do is take my view of gambling in a different manner. Spend more on long shots. No, I'm just kidding. Not that. But I don't know about you. One of the popular gambling books out there is the autobiography of Billy Walters. It's called Gambler's Secrets from a Life at Risk. I'm only 2 chapters in. But even though I'm 2 chapters in, man, there's things that are said that you agree with, you just don't follow when it comes to betting, right? There's things that would make you a better, I don't know how to say it differently, that you have to grind it out. It's almost like working out. It's almost as if you're dieting. You have to stick to a plan. And what he points out is that many years of his life, he was always a gambler, but he was always looking for action, looking for, that pool hustling game that put dollars, like he wanted, he quote him, he says, balls out. He wanted to take your money, all your money, or you took all his money. And how he became successful was looking at it as a business, looking at it from knowledge, betting a game because you have done the research, And this guy's got a vast network of like experts, right? Like this guy's on another level. He's got millions on the line. I talked to him in his book having like $100 million in one day, one football day with like 160 bets going or whatever. Interesting read. I want to take more of a read here, but we all can learn that grinding is the only way to stay alive in the gambling world. How would you say your philosophy is? Would you call yourself a grinder?
I don't know if I'd necessarily call myself a grinder, you know. Usually, you know, the thing that I've learned about gambling, for me at least, maybe for you as well, but it always seems like things are either going very, very well or very, very bad. So I think it's, you know, those times that it is going very, very bad for me, you know, it's just about taking a step back, kind of, you know, you still got to make sure you're putting your time into researching these sports, and then, you know, give it a couple days and then try again.
That was a good statement there. I'm going to say my fault is I like the action. So, for example, today it's a holiday. It's a long weekend. We got a game in front of us, like that England game this afternoon. Everything told me that stay away from shots on target. But no, want the action. So I do it. And we talked about earlier that England's first shot on target didn't happen until like the 95th minute. So there you go. That's how I win or don't win based on bad habits. So I'm hoping to look at football season a little differently and try to stick to a plan of information, valid information, and you really got to look at, win or lose, was your plan the right plan, right? Was your plan, like I've heard Daniel Negreanu, professional poker player, fellow Canadian, talk about like, you know, getting frustrated at losing or whatever, right? But you got to look at, was the plan on course? Was it the right? Did I make the right decision? Just got burned.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a race, right? Like you can make a good value bet, and that bet's going to lose. But you make a good value bet 10 times, and you win 6, 7 of those times. You know, that's a success.
Right. It's so frustrating. You talked about the soccer action going on Copa the other night. I needed Uruguay, and I can't remember. They were playing Bolivia, I think. I needed one more corner to pay me off. And the last corner in the game was the 65th minute. Right? 25 minutes of regular time and 10 minutes of extra time. Yeah. And they couldn't get me one more corner.
That's crazy.
How disgusting is that?
Imagine if you would have just said, hey, I'm gonna throw $5 on 0 corners for the second half. Like it's like it's the odds would reflect that it's barely even possible, like 100 to 1 probably, right?
I can't agree with you more.
That's got to be sickening.
It's sickening, and you know what? Maybe I don't do that enough, and that's the hedging. I find it hard to buy into it, not because it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah,
it's just I feel that I'm like basically pushing out if I hedge it, but that it is the smart thing to do is look at that as a valid strategy.
Yeah.
It's this world that we decide to dip our toes in is not a friendly one, and like you said, it's either all going well, you're getting those last minute things happening, but then there is those streaks where just nothing goes right.
Yep.
Disgusting. Anyway, we talked about football season coming up, so I know we're not really diving into that. We talked a little bit about fantasy football, but how excited are you to see preseason kick off in a month time when the NFL preseason kicks off in August?
Oh, so excited. And you know what? We said that we were going to, we were going to kind of like have some strategies or whatever. So, hopefully, or no, I'll say almost for sure, we'll have a podcast with some of those strategies, maybe a couple weeks or a month before kickoff with all of our future predictions as well.
I'm tinkering with the idea is it's not going to happen. I want to do it, but Circa, the casino in Vegas, they have a famous survivor pool. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like $1,000 entry.
Yeah.
And it's millions, right, to potentially win. And you have to. Here's the catch. So you have to go to Vegas, and you have to find a representative. What's the word I'm looking for? It's an advocate, not an advocate, but somebody who is a Vegas resident that has to be their name on it so that you can get a potential payout. But these are the kind of things as a gambler you want to be involved in. Take your chance that maybe you do get the skill of picking that right team. And do you like survivor pools?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, last year I ran my first ever survival pool, and I I think it was only for like $10. This year I might, do one for 20. I'm sure you'd be interested in that, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. But I actually first ever survival pool. I tied for the first place, so it was nice. I like what you can do with it too. You can either do one and done, or you can do you get multiple knockouts. Personally, I like the one and done. I feel like that's how the survival pool should be. But I like survival pools, and I'll definitely be doing one this year. Probably not.
You really got to strategize on it. You cannot just walk in and think, hey, I'll take blah, blah, blah team, because you burn that pick, right? You cannot go back to that team.
Yeah.
So you got to look at bye weeks. You got to look at you might get stuck in a week where you're taking let's say in Atlanta. You're deep in your survivor pool and you're stuck with like the Chargers or the Raiders or something stupid like that. And is that really what you want? No, you really got to think it through. Look at the schedule.
Yep.
And make some key decisions.
And I think, too, the more people that you have, the less safe week to week you can be as well, right? So, but I think key to a survival pool, too, is you want a lot of people. Like I said, I ran my first ever league last year. I think there was like 8 or 9 of us. This year I'm hoping maybe I can get 15 to 20. That'd be nice. And I'll definitely let you guys know on the next podcast what's going on with the survival pool along with the fantasy football
I'm
leagues.
on the edge of my seat waiting. Thank you for letting us know. Just kidding. So the fantasy world, the survivor world is going strong, or will be going strong. Football season. Anything you're excited? Obviously, I can tell you're excited about the Taylor Swift season 2. But anything that you intrigues you to see a team, a player, like in a new uniform, anything?
Yeah, just off the top of my head, it'll be interesting to see Aaron Rodgers' situation this year.
Yes.
You were just telling me, and I didn't know this, that he is missing training camp?
Well, they had a mandatory mini camp.
Yeah.
That he was given an excused absence, and my understanding is he traveled to Egypt, and that didn't go over well with a lot of fans. But is it really a big deal, or just a lot of noise about nothing?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know.
I don't know either, but obviously, Aaron Rodgers, one of the most entertaining quarterbacks to watch in football. You want to see him succeed.
You do. And then when you bring in an Aaron Rodgers, if you're the Jets, and obviously the Achilles injury last year, it basically torpedoed.
Brutal.
The Jets were not prepared to play and compete without Aaron Rodgers. Wilson was an absolutely horrible shit show.
Yep.
And the season fell off the rails, and you wasted some prime years from some key defenders. Sauce Gardner, these guys only have a short window, and you basically pissed a year away if you're the New York Jets.
Yep.
So they got to be banking on. They got who did they bring in? Tyrod Taylor is now their backup, which he did show some flair with the Giants. But I mean, if you're in a situation where you need Tyrod Taylor, you're in trouble. However, you're in a better position than you were last year when you had nothing.
I've always liked Tyrod Taylor as a backup quarterback. He never looked too bad in his Buffalo Bill days. As a starter, so to see him as a backup, it's like, that's a solid guy. With the team that the Jets have, maybe he can win you half those games that Aaron Rodgers is away.
Right, you're banking on that Aaron Rodgers is going to be your guy, and your guy for every game of that season and for a playoff run. But if you have to go to Tyrod Taylor, again, he's a manager. He's a game manager. And the Bills obviously moved on and drafted Josh Allen, knowing that he wasn't going to carry you to the promised land, bouncing around to many different teams. Do you recall how he lost his spot with the Chargers?
The doctor punctured his lung or something.
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
The doctor punctured his lung.
Yes.
And did he sue that doctor?
I don't know the follow up on that, but imagine you're giving your trust, your career, and this guy punctures your goddamn lung, and then you lose. You lose your starting position. It's not good.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I've heard that doctor made a similar mistake with some other athlete as well. If I'm not mistaken, he should be fired, man.
Think about a goddamn needle going into your fucking lung,
man.
And then what do you hear? Do you hear like a pop balloon? Do you hear like a leaky tire?
Yeah. And this doctor's supposed to be the highest of his profession.
Yeah.
He's with these high end athletes. That's crazy.
Hey, look. Okay, let's get on the topic here. This is an interesting topic to talk about. Q2 here is just a general philosophy is whether it be football especially. I have changed my thoughts over the last 5 years when we talk about players holding out, maximizing guaranteed money, maybe holding out like Lamar did and eventually didn't do it, which was hold out for just guaranteed money. He settled for less, but I got to implore these guys to max out their money as much as they possibly can in a short window, because these NFL teams and every other team will put you in the trash once they're done with you.
Yeah,
and they don't give a fuck if somebody puncture your lung. If you're not useful, the next thing you know, you're going to be released and you're going to be out of a job and you're going to be working somewhere else you didn't think of before your football career should have ended.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on players holding out, maximizing their contracts, etc.?
No, I would. I would completely agree with you. Like, these guys got to make their money, especially, man, the running backs. Like, I would say running backs almost seem like they're borderline disrespected half the time. It's like, oh yeah, you've carried the team for a few years. We're not going to pay your money though. We're gonna just use a high round draft pick to have somebody to replace you. You've run your miles already. You got too many miles. We don't like you anymore.
I think that's a really big point. I mean, without saying it, the running back market has totally cooled.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm playing high school football, if I'm going to want to be. I'd rather be a cornerback if I can, or a linebacker, because that's going to get me the payday, and they're going to run you into the ground. Simple as that.
Yeah, 100%. Running backs are disrespected. But the crazy thing is...
goal
nice.
Spain.
Goal Spain. Nice.
Sorry.
And
anyway,
we haven't even had beer yet, folks. Sorry, what the hell were we just talking about? My train of thought is gone now. What was I just saying?
You're saying some stupid shit. I don't know.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I'm looking. I think we were talking about free agency, the running back situation, and how you need to get paid,
I know what I was
because they're not getting paid.
Yeah. The thing is that makes me think that's not going to change too. Tell me if you were running the team that you wouldn't be doing the same thing, because even though it's a douchebag thing to do to your players, it is the smart decision. It's like, why would you pay that guy $20 million when you can just use a high-end draft pick? And, young running backs are... the guy, odds are, a first-round pick for running back is going to be better than that guy that put in his work, too.
Look, it goes both ways, right? As an organization, I can't agree with you more that when you build a roster, especially in a sport, whether it be football or hockey or the NBA, that has a salary cap, you cannot miss. And if you feel that contract is going to, prevent you from building the team that you want, then you definitely have to make hard decisions. But that goes both ways. Let's flip the hockey, for example. So by the way, this goal's under check, so I'm going to have to retract that goal announcement that I made. Anyway, you look at Steven Stamkos for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So he's an unrestricted free agent. He looks like he's going to hit unrestricted free agency unless something's developing and we're not aware at this moment. But July 1st, tomorrow, he should be a free agent, unrestricted, and the report, whether it be valid or not, check over his account. His account? No? Yes? No? Is it yes? Yes, it's a goal. Goal! Sorry. Okay, so Steven Stamkos, long time. The guy came back in the bubble, played one shift and scored against the Dallas Stars in the Stanley Cup final. He was hurt and he came back. He wins another Stanley Cup with the Lightning the year after, playing more of a role. Gets to a Stanley Cup final, losing to the Avalanche, and obviously he is on the Mount Rushmore of Tampa Bay Lightning players, one of the best that they're ever going to have in that franchise. There's no question. But the report is that they offered him $3 million over 8 years, which is obviously something I don't think or see him taking. He's expecting more. I don't know why you'd want to sign a 34-year-old for 8 years. However, at the hit of $3 million, maybe the thought is they'll buy him out at the end. But my point, and I was going to get to it, I know I was rambling on, was the Tampa Bay Lightning sounds like they're dancing around that they probably want to move on. They made a trade for Jake Getzel yesterday to get his rights, and it looks like they're aiming to put a lot of their cap room in Jake Getzel, who is former Pittsburgh Penguin, went to the Carolina Hurricanes, that they look like they're going to move on, or for Steven Stamkos to come to favorable terms on their terms because they believe that's the right thing to do. Okay, again, I'm circling. I apologize. I'm going to land with my point. Is that I'm hearing commentary, and I just can't stand it, especially in the hockey world, that people are stating, Steven Stamkos has made a lot of money in his career, and that if he does take the $3 million over 8 years, he's got all the money in the world. He doesn't need any more than that. Who the fuck are you to tell anybody that they don't need to maximize their dollar value? That is such a dumb mentality. that Steven Stamkos, if he can max out an $8 million 3-year deal, let's say, to go somewhere else, and that's what's on the table, I have no problem with him doing that. But for somebody to assume that they're not making NBA money. They're making good money, no question. They're not making 50 plus like Scotty Barnes just signed a huge contract with the Raptors. So for anybody to state that his decision shouldn't be money-wise, you're an idiot. And you have no sense of the world. I'm pretty sure his lifestyle is pretty high up and pretty expensive. And do you ever see yourself saying in the prime of your career or near the end of your career, yeah, I'll take a pay cut here, and I should take a pay cut. Like, what do you think of that?
No, I feel like it's just like any career, right? You want to make as much money as possible, and these guys are very limited with the time that they have for their respected careers. So I agree with what you're saying.
It goes fast. It goes very, very fast.
Yeah.
And the NHL is a young man's game.
Yeah.
And the Steven Stamkos of the world is coming off a 40-goal season.
Yeah.
He's still a guy that you're going to want. So if I'm him and Tampa Bay doesn't want me, there's got to be a few teams that do want to get me to a 1 or 2 year contract that will still allow me to do a Stanley Cup run. So, what if he goes to Carolina? They're not re-signing Getzel. Mm-hmm. And that team needs scoring. And they're on the cusp of potentially contending for a cup. But they've obviously failed in the last few playoff runs, exiting earlier than they expected. Everybody knows Florida owns the Eastern Conference right now, and they don't look like they're going away anywhere anytime soon. But outside in the world of free agency and the money, man, I praise Kirk Cousins for maximizing another contract. With the Atlanta Falcons, there's no reason to apologize for the money you're putting in your pocket. Just simple as that.
Yeah.
So anybody who says you're paid enough or shouldn't be holding out for more money because unless you're dumb and you don't have the leverage, but if you have that leverage, I support you 100%. And for everybody else, fuck right off. Mm-hmm. Fuck right off. You can quote me on that too. All right, write it down. Okay, good. So that's the world of free agency. Looking at any other things in sports. Anything else that hit your mind that's going on in the news world of sports?
Yeah, before we went on to hockey there, I was thinking, just because you did bring up the Buffalo Bills, like you were saying, does anything, am I thinking about anything? And, I was like, off the top of my head, Rodgers. And then in that same division, one of the big question marks I have is, what are the Buffalo Bills going to be like without Stephon Diggs this year? They made the hard decision to get rid of him, right? And can they actually be a better team without their number one receiver spreading the ball around? And I was going to ask you too. You might not know, or you might know because I do not know. Is Stephon Diggs signed to a team yet? Is he a free agent?
He was traded to the Houston Texans.
Oh, that's correct. Oh man, that's going to be huge for them as well. Wow, thinking about that, they may have the best receiver core in football. Do you agree?
Look, they're
Nico Collins,
yes.
Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs with rookie of the year. I'm pretty sure he won rookie of the year, right? Why am I forgetting the quarterback's name right now?
Now you just made me forget about it. What the hell?
It's crazy. I can name all the receivers, but then I forget.
We can't let this go. For God's sakes, we should know this. This is embarrassing to the podcast for both of us.
I mean, I'll give myself the credit for remembering their young receivers there, but.
You're really going to pat yourself on the back for that?
Hey, listen, I'm just a guest here, man. You're supposed to know the answers.
You're right. I don't know why
I should know this too. I run
CJ Stroud. How do we not remember?
CJ Stroud, yes.
I'm going on a playoff run. CJ Stroud. Disgusting.
To think that they were a playoff team already and one of the best, with one of the best receiver cores to add Stephon Diggs. It's crazy. You know what? I'll have an entertaining question for you. Who do you think has a better year? The Houston Texans or the Buffalo Bills? Just strictly record.
I was talking just regular season, or
just regular season.
Playoff run.
Let's get your opinion on both.
It's an interesting question because obviously the Texans are trying to strike while the iron's hot. They're trying to surround C.J. Stroud, that's his name, right? Okay.
Yep.
C.J. Stroud with a bunch of talent before they have to break open the bank and sign him to a contract. He's going on to year 2. We're talking about a quarterback that just completed year 1, and rightfully so, the Houston Texans believe, and they do, have their franchise quarterback and that they could make a serious run in only year 2
Yeah.
of a quarterback to his level.
It's crazy. He reminds me, and I know it's the exact same team, so maybe that's why, but he literally reminds me of Deshaun Watson, the early years on that team. Like, they got such an electric passing game. You know, I would say the Houston Texans last year became one of the most entertaining teams in football to watch.
I was trying to find a joke to have massage in there, but I couldn't when you talk about Deshaun Watson, but I failed for sure. Anyway, but the Houston Texans, they're going all in. They have another couple-year window where C.J. Stroud, like I said, is not going to make the bank that he's going to get for any franchise quarterback. They're playing, let's look at the rest of their division, right? You got the Colts, which Richardson's kind of like, he looks like a good quarterback, but can he stay healthy, right?
Yeah, he'll be an interesting guy to target in fantasy football.
Yes.
Like, where is he going to go now? You know, potentially third round? That guy could break the game open if he stays healthy.
Yeah, he's going to be scoring how many touchdowns from the 1 yard line?
Yeah,
how many
exactly.
2-point conversions is he going to punch home?
So many, as long as he's healthy.
But what's his body going to look like, by week 7? He already got dinged up.
It's like he's a quarterback and a running back.
Look, I like Richardson. I do. He made a comment, though, and again, you take what you will with these comments because they're taken out of context or they're just a part of like a million other words that the player has used. But he talked about the NFL being easier than college. Like, you were injured for the most of the season. What are you talking about? Like,
I feel like he can't talk yet, although in those short window that he actually played, he did look very good.
And then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, which are probably going to be up there, obviously, with the Texans. They kind of faded at the end there last year.
Yeah,
they bought into Trevor Lawrence. He's their guy. They signed him.
Yeah, I think the Texans are a way better team than the Jaguars, personally.
Way better?
Oh, yeah, I would say way better.
Okay.
I'm not saying Jackson. The thing about Jacksonville to me is that they're just constantly underperforming. And you know what? It's hard to watch a team like that for me. I think they're underperforming year by year.
They have obviously not reached the levels, and there was even talk that do we sign Trevor Lawrence to that big, massive contract? I don't think they had a choice. I don't think the options. I mean, you don't sign Trevor Lawrence to that big contract. You're irrelevant for 5-6 seasons.
Yeah.
Like, it's not happening. So
he's not great, but he's good. That's how I look at Trevor Lawrence. And
I think his years are better. The better years are ahead of him, I think.
Yeah, he's good, not great, but he also has that potential to maybe be great. I don't think it's a high chance, but I wouldn't say that I'd be surprised.
He showed a toughness. Monday Night Football. I think it was against the Saints where he hit a bum leg and he's rushing for like 70 yards. And I just sometimes think when things are going tough, his decision making is maybe subpar at the moment. And it's got to get better if you want to lead this team because they pissed away a season there. They did. They pissed away a good start to the. They had that division.
Let me say this: unlike Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
I wouldn't gamble on it. I wouldn't gamble on Trevor Lawrence being this great guy.
That's good.
I'd say, you know what? I'd say maybe. Would you say Trevor Lawrence is a top 10 quarterback? Or would you say, for me, he's in that.
Let's list you. Can you think of quickly 10 quarterbacks right now? Obviously, Patty Mahomes, number 1.
Yeah, I think I could.
Who else would you put in front?
Just start naming guys. I'll say yes or no.
Okay, so Patty Mahomes.
Obviously Mahomes.
Josh Allen.
Allen, for sure.
Okay, Burrows.
Burrow, for sure.
Lamar Jackson,
yes.
Okay, and Tua? No.
Tua, yeah, CJ Stroud.
What? You think Tua is a top 10 quarterback?
No. Well, no. This is the conversation. This conversation. I'm trying to name you guys right now that are better than than Trevor Lawrence. So I would say Tua is better than Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, I don't think so. I think you're off. Sorry, man. That's.
I'm not saying. Listen, the Miami Dolphins have their problems, but. No, Tua to me is a better passer than Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, I think.
But that being said, here let me say this: Tua has the weapons that Trevor Lawrence does not have. So you know what? I might be thinking it more as like, oh, who's going to put up the better numbers? And that's. I think you would even agree. Tua is going to put up the better numbers. But when you got the best receiver in the NFL or second best receiver in the NFL, Tyreek Hill and Waddle.
Yeah.
Obviously he's going to put up the better numbers. Would you agree with that?
I can't disagree with that. Miami seems to pick up every talent off season that they explode on the field. But I think Tua's more of a game manager, in my opinion.
Yeah. So you know what? I'll change that answer. Trevor Lawrence, given those weapons that Tua has, I would say Trevor Lawrence probably is the better quarterback. Although I wouldn't say it's. I would say it's close.
All right. What about Aaron Rodgers? Would you still put him up there as a top 10 quarterback?
It's, you know what? That's hard to say. He's 40, coming off an injured year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him the respect and say that he is better than Trevor Lawrence. But that we'll know early on in the year if he is or isn't, I think.
So, a lot of questions out there, a lot of things. The Dolphins are obviously all in with Tua and trying to make a run in with that division. You talked about the Bills, and I'm going to say that the Bills are still somehow going to squeak it out. I mean, they looked like they were dead last year when it came to, I think, that Monday night or Thursday night in Miami, where they lost, and things were like just, did they win or lose? There was a game. It just looked like a couple. They looked like we might miss the playoffs.
Who, the Dolphins?
The Bills.
Oh, the Bills,
and
yeah.
obviously, they're one Diggs catch from potentially knocking off the Chiefs, that 70-yard bomb in the freezing cold that Josh Allen, like no other human being, could throw a football like that. That's why I think he can still manage with no-name receivers, because that's what they have right now. They really have a no-name receiving core. I think they'll still be successful. And I'm going to say yes. The Bills will be more successful and have a better season than the Houston Texans. I'm going to predict it right now.
You know what? I'll go head-to-head with you on that.
Whoa!
I think the Texans are going to have a better record.
So what do you define?
But here's
We're
the
going to
thing.
define 8 just based on the regular season record?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Buffalo Bills hugely underperformed last year, and then I am giving respect to the Jets. Wait, you got Aaron Rodgers under quarterback? That's 2 games that the Buffalo Bills got to play where I think it's pretty much a coin flip. So I think they're without their best receiver. The Texans literally took away the Bills' best receiver, and last year they were pretty much equal already, right? So it's hard to say. I might not put money to my mouth on that one, but I would take the Texans as a friendly wager there.
Interesting.
Or friendly bet.
Got it. Okay, so here's a thought. We're going to circle back and we'll probably maybe wrap this up soon, but going back to the NBA and NHL, we had champions crowned. The Boston Celtics basically steamrolled everyone, right? Indiana choked in game 1. Bad management in the conference finals. But other than that, they rolled.
Indiana, man, there were so many of those games they came close to winning, but then they ended up doing nothing.
They
And if I'm not mistaken, Halliburton had a real rough playoff.
He did.
Yeah.
He did, and you need him going.
Yeah. Oh, you need him going. He's one of the best players in NBA, top 10, right?
Did you see that he's actually just doing a run with the WWE right now?
No, I did not see that.
It's Halliburton and Brunson.
Nice.
So there might be something going on cooking there.
Man, that's kind of funny.
Because the SummerSlam's in Indiana, right? So it's the Lucas Oil Field. So that's why Halliburton, I bet you, has been brought in. Interesting stuff there. So what are your thoughts, though, the Celtics? I mean, yes, it was a pretty boring final, knocking the Dallas Mavericks off in 5 games. But my thought is that they were simply the best team.
Yep.
And that's how I expected that fight. I think for them to win the way they did, solidify. There was no second guessing who the top dog in the NBA was. It was the Boston Celtics. And I'm fine for them rolling the Mavericks and giving a charity game 4 to the Mavericks.
I think next year, I do believe the Nuggets will be back and be right up there skill-wise with them. But no, the Boston Celtics are definitely the best team. They're so well-rounded. Tatum's a top guy. Do they still have Porzingis next year? Do you know that?
Yes, but he's going to be off like 4 or 5 months to get surgery.
Oh, shoot. Wow. Yeah. Into the season or 4 or 5 months?
It's from now, but it's going to be into the season. But again, they're going to motor along, not going to need him per se until they need him as the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So he'll be fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they rolled it. They were the best team, no question. And you look at around the NBA, looks like Klay Thompson's done with the Golden State Warriors. I mean, people are sniffing around, like even your boys in the Nuggets in Denver there.
Did you hear who may be going to Golden State?
Hold on, let me think about this, because no, I did not.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So it'd have to be a trade, though, right?
I'm not sure. I think he might have tested free agency. This guy, I could be wrong.
It's not Chris Paul. I know
Kyrie Irving. No. You were close to Chris Paul, but it's not Chris Paul.
Okay, who are we talking then?
Paul George.
Yeah.
Apparently, the only information going off of it is I see the article on the score, and they were saying Golden State is close to locking up Paul George, which that's crazy. He's leaving the Clippers. But
what is Golden State doing? I don't know. I think it's time to look at a different approach. I mean, I guess Paul George, he really didn't carry the Clippers anywhere, right? And the Clippers were such a disappointment, like a flat tire with the talent they brought around.
Even last year, Kawhi played more than I think he has in years, and they weren't able to get it done.
Yeah, they got Harden still, and they have just it's a mess. They got a new stadium that they're going in, which should be interesting. I think it's next year that they have their own. They get out of the Crypto.com arena, and they have their own basketball only facility, which probably would be pretty cool.
That does sound pretty cool. I didn't know that.
But these Clippers are. I don't know if adding Paul George is the formula, but if you're going to have Steph Curry. You got to make runs, right?
Yeah, you think of the Clippers and Golden State right now, like clearly playoff teams, but not championship teams.
Yeah, that's where the Golden State Warriors are. They're not what they were.
Yeah, they can show greatness in any given game. Curry can come and drop 50, but maybe Paul George will be a good fit. We'll have to wait and see if it even happens. I think so.
Yeah, we'll see. But somebody's going to make some coin there. I'm pretty sure he's not going to get chump change. It's going to be some good cash there. Anyway, it was talk about the NBA. Bronny goes to the LeBron's son, drafted second round to the Lakers. The story out there, what is fact, what is fiction, I don't know, was that Rich Paul, agent for LeBron James, during the second round, was contacting teams not to draft unless they were Phoenix or LA, or he was going to go play in Australia. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was the report.
Interesting.
What are your thoughts on that whole story, though, of LeBron James playing with his son and at the same time kind of manipulating, hey, I'm not playing unless I go to these 1 to 2 areas?
I feel like it's more of an entertainment story than it is like actually affecting basketball. That being said, obviously the key thing in there is just getting LeBron to stay, right? Like that's the big impact. But I even read, Bronny might not be playing the NBA next year. He might be playing in the G League, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It seems like LeBron has just so much pull over these teams that he goes to. I seen even the guy that the Lakers drafted in the first round, like LeBron was tweeting out at during his March of Madness run or whatever it was. So it's like, man, is LeBron just out here drafting the team? But obviously, I think everyone would love it if Bronny was good. Like everyone would love it, but. I think my question in my head is like, if he wasn't LeBron James' son and he was just a guy named Bronny, where would he have gone? Where would he have gone? I really don't know. I know in college he was averaging for sure under 20 points a game. Like I don't think his stats or anything stand out, right?
Well, he had a health scare. He had
right.
He actually had a big health scare
with his heart, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's amazing that he even came back. He really didn't get a chance to show anything at USC, so surprising that he came out for the draft too. But hey, you know what? He's gonna have a chance. He's gonna be in the Vegas Summer League for the Lakers, and like you say, LeBron is the most powerful. I'm trying to think of that's Messi is the most impactful, but LeBron might be the most powerful athlete right now in sports. Is that a safe statement? Other than like maybe like a Messi, or did you just say that? I don't think Messi is pulling strings like let's say LeBron James. So LeBron James, right? Yeah, JJ Redick is now the Laker coach.
In that case, I agree with you completely. Yeah,
like they hired a coach that LeBron was doing a podcast with, and you know what? JJ Redick is he was a good analyst, good player. He's a role player, shooter. Lakers on the court, though, are simply not good enough. They're not good enough to beat, let's say, the Denver Nuggets or any of those big teams in the West. Simple as that. So I don't know what the expectations are.
They got no depth.
They have no depth. Yeah. They need another impactful player or two.
Yeah.
And they don't have it. I don't see anything they're doing. I'm hoping they do something because it's always interesting when the Lakers are a powerhouse. But I think those days are behind them. I really do.
I think so too. But with LeBron and Anthony Davis, anything can happen. But I wouldn't bet on it.
And also, if we really look at flipping over to the NHL, interesting was that the Edmonton Oilers were down 3-0, made it interesting, got it to Game 7. So let's say from your perspective, did it grab your attention that the Oilers were making? Was it a news story to you?
For
the Oilers, as an example, I don't know if you were hardcore following the Stanley Cup Final. or was it that the Oilers started making an interesting story?
Yeah.
That they may actually come back from down 3? Did that draw your attention?
Oh, 100% it drew my attention. Like I feel like everybody was watching that Game 7 hoping we had that storybook comeback.
That's right.
Everyone wants to see Connor McDavid. That would have been the biggest thing in his legacy so far, and the way that they would have been able to do it in Game 7 would have been literally legendary. So it really sucked for them to fall short in a 2-1 affair.
Yeah, I mean, Connor McDavid had his moments, if you go back to the World Cup of soccer, Lionel Messi was already the best player of all time. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But the story was written at that World Cup of that magical run that he was on. He was the main guy.
Yep.
He performed when it counted, right? He scored big goals, and they won a World Cup. He could have retired and just had a statue built and be a legend. He's come to Miami in the MLS. It's like a rock, he's a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
He performs. He plays. Argentina right now in Copa America. I thought he would have retired after the World Cup, but he didn't. He's representing his country. There's no level of athlete that's on a higher peak than Lionel Messi. And I thought Connor McDavid's legend could have been made in Game 6 and 7,
mm-hmm.
and it didn't.
Yeah,
and it was he fell flat. I don't care.
See, here's the one thing. He did build on his legacy for the fact that he won playoff MVP. That's an award that when you're going into the Hall of Fame, they're gonna put on your plaque, right? But it even was crazy to me though that they gave it to a winner on the loser team. I think I heard, if I'm not mistaken, it was the 4th or 5th time that had ever happened in hockey.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think he had 34 assists in the playoffs. And that's a lot of assists, but it just seems weird to me though to give it to somebody on the losing team. Do you agree? Or do you think he deserved it?
When you look at the choices, you're looking at 4 rounds, and that's how the judgment's done. It's not just the finals. And the fact that Bobrovsky, I think, had it until the Oilers made the comeback, and I thought with that game he played in Game 7, Bobrovsky was huge in that. In that last game, the whole Florida just dragged across the finish line. Let's not kid ourselves. They did not dominate that game in any way, and they were 1 bounce away from going to overtime for Game 7. And so I would have given it to Bobrovsky, to be honest. Mm-hmm. That's my thought. And interesting story. If you ever watch VSiN, I can't remember the host that was talking about the live Conn Smythe odds during Game 7. Mm-hmm. And Connor McDavid, who was obviously the heavy favorite coming into the game, it was dropping like a rock. It was dropping like a rock, and Bobrovsky was catching up. So, however, it was a unanimous decision to give. So he made a very good point. And I wish I had his name here, but he made a very good point that when you start trying to bet on MVPs and things like that, you're taking your chances. You're taking your chances. You have human beings. It's not playing. It's not. The award, like a win or a loss, is not playing out. It's some individual with a paper and who's making the change. So if it was going to the bet, if you're looking at the betting odds, it looked like it was jumping to Bobrovsky's favor. And when you look at the actual first and second place, third place, whatever voting, I think Bobrovsky didn't even. He got 1 first place vote. Yeah. And I don't think he didn't get a second place vote. Yeah. How stupid is that?
That's crazy.
How ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I will say is, I'm sure if you're looking at the numbers as a whole, Bobrovsky's numbers in the final weren't the greatest because he had some pretty bad games. But the thing is, if you look at the 4 games that they won, he carried them, right? That's the thing. In the games they actually won, he carried them, allowing less than 2 goals a game probably in those 4 wins, right?
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah, something like that.
I just
definitely less than 3.
Oh my God! Look at this. Oh, he missed. Georgia.
Yeah. One thing that also reminds me of is UFC is going to decision. Just like you said, it's just a man with his pen and paper making a decision, right?
Well, the UFC, and we'll go back to hockey in a moment here to kind of finish off the Connor McDavid topic. We just finished watching UFC 303, which Alex Pereira, to me, is the must-see guy in the UFC right now as light heavyweight champion. He took this fight on short notice. He held his ground, knocking out, what's his name? Yuri Pachkovich, or leg kick early second round. solidifying him as like the best. To me, if there's a champion to watch, he is the guy I'm watching.
Yeah, fair enough. He's not. You definitely can't call him the pound for pound best. You cannot say he's better than Makhachev, obviously.
Why can't you?
Makhachev, to me, Makhachev is just this. Makhachev is just basically like this guy that seems like at this point in his career can't be beaten. Like, you know, I'm not saying Alex Pereira isn't great, but I look at him as a guy that can be beaten, though.
Yeah. Makhachev is
like it's like, oh, that guy has a chance. Like, even though you know he might be a big favorite, where it's like Makhachev, it's like you got a high end guy like Volkanovski, and it's like Volkanovski doesn't even have a shot.
No, I think Volkanovski's days are best behind him. And Makhachev can knock your lights out and choke your life away. He's so damaging.
A lead in everything, right? Yes. But, I mean, I'm not trying to sell Alex Pereira short here. I think he might be the second best pound for pound champ.
Yeah. Dude. All right. Well, John Jones, Dana White would still tell you that he's number one pound for pound. Do you agree with that, or do you think?
Yeah, it's just when the hell is this guy
He's fought once in 4 years.
Yeah,
man.
I know.
He's fighting Miocic in October in Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. But we just going back to the judging, like when you start doing your research and you look at a fighter's record and you look back at some of the decisions that were given that were not unanimous decisions, and then you actually go and watch the fight. Many times, a lot of these judges are smoking something. Yeah. They're, like Sean Strickland, like for example, when he beat Diego Costa, it was a split decision. It wasn't even a unanimous decision. And there's no way if you actually had one pair of eyes, you would think that Costa would have any shot in that fight. And that's how bad the judging is. You need to finish these fights.
You know what the craziest thing I ever seen with judging? I remember, because I actually had money on him at like 3-1, Sugar Show O'Malley. I remember in a fight against Peter Yan, it was one of those fights that went to decision. Yes. It went to decision. It's like, how the hell did Peter Yan lose this fight? I remember Khabib's reaction to this fight was, like, it zoomed in on him. He's like, after the verdict, and he's like, how, brother, how, right? And then this guy went on to become champion. Like, it's crazy that a decision like that can affect the future of the UFC. It's so impactful.
I know exactly the fight you're talking about. It was during, obviously, O'Malley's rise to get that title shot. Yep. And that Peter Yan fight, I would have judged it for Peter Yan.
Yeah. No, Peter Yan, I remember I was at a friend's house, and there was maybe 6 to 8 of us, and everyone's just in shock. And I'm cheering. They're like, sugar! Because I got $50 to profit $100, and I'm thinking it's dead in the water. Right. So I'm just like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, it's bad. It's weird. Some people that I've talked to did think that he actually won that fight, but I want to say the large majority were like, no way.
Well, but there is too many fights out there, though. That, you could probably sit there and say the Strickland, DePrius, whatever the hell his name is, fight could have went either way when it went to the judges. Mm-hmm. I think it was Strickland got screwed out of that one, but that's my opinion. Yeah. But there's blatant misjudging occurring on a card-per-card basis on some very big fights that are dramatic and very impactful to the rankings. It's these title shots, so you're cashing in when you get that shot at the belt, and you get screwed over by a referee. It is terrible.
Oh, yeah. It feels like it's taken away from the sport.
It's just disgusting. Now, going back to Conor McDavid, he had a good playoff run when it came to points. He dominated earlier in that Stanley Cup final when they were making their run back. But, man, legends are made. Legends are made, and he didn't become that legend. You know what? Mark Messier becomes a legend because he guarantees victory in games 7 against the New Jersey Devils. Yeah. They're going to come back and win, whatever. But just not good enough, and he was a no-show. He was a no-show in Game 6 for sure. Yeah. And in Game 7, he was not dominating at all. When they needed him the most, I don't care how he performed from every other game leading up to then. That was your legend opportunity. And it would have been an amazing, amazing story that this guy carries them on their back, scores a hat trick in Game 7. Oilers win the cup. But that didn't happen. And he didn't even show up to take out, they introduced the Conn Smythe winner. He doesn't show up. I'm not saying that's bad or good, but he wasn't there. And really fell flat. I think it didn't look good for the NHL because he didn't perform in Game 6 or 7, even though that is not the level of what is being judged. No question, I'm not arguing that. But for the image and the look wasn't good that he won that award.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've talked for a long time now, and this soccer game's heating up. 2-1 is Spain with the 53rd minute, and Spain's about to kick the shit out of Georgia here. Oh, Georgia picked up the ball. We'll see what happens. But Austin from Ajax, anything that you have to mention, talk about, topics we didn't cover that you would like to discuss now before you hold your peace?
Nothing that I can think of. Just the promise that we'll be back with more. Definitely a big football podcast before NFL starts. Hopefully we can get you guys some good picks, some good values, and that's pretty much it.
You think those beers are cold right now?
Oh, they're cold. They might be borderline ice right now.
Oh, damn. Okay, so anyway, the Overrated Experience. This was obviously pleasure was all yours. The Overrated Experience is over and out.
Awesome from Ajax out.
All right. Bye-bye.